So back in June of 2019, I believe it was, I was on Facebook Marketplace and I was just looking at anything random, and I came across a listing for a set of, the guy was selling two welder generators. He had a Miller Trailblazer 250G and he had a Lincoln Ranger, I believe it was. And he wanted $600 for the Lincoln. I think he wanted like $400 for the Trailblazer. So I was going to go, it's $1,000 for both of them. So I was going to go look at them, and I seen this early in the week, like on a Tuesday or something like that. But I was going to go look at both of them, and I was going to see if he'd take $900 for both of them. He wanted $1,000 if you put them together. But he had sold the Lincoln Ranger earlier that week. I didn't get home till the weekend. And so I got a hold of him over the weekend and went down, I think on a Monday. Somehow I got off work on a Monday. And I went down on a Monday and looked at it. So when I got down there, like I said, he wanted $400 for it. And he had told me he had got it in a trade. He'd got both of them in a trade. He was a welder, and he didn't really work on them. He didn't know how they worked, that they weren't running. But he was told they were running the year before, the summer before. So he said they ran in 2018. He got them over the winter, but they didn't run now, and he didn't know how to fix them. So I went and looked at them, or looked at the Miller Trailblazer. The Lincoln was already gone. So I went and looked at it, and, you know, he seemed like an honest guy. He seemed like he wasn't trying to screw me over, and he was only selling it for $400. So it wasn't like he was asking $1,500 or $2,000 for a welder that didn't work. So I don't think he was trying to screw me over, screw anybody over, or anything like that. I just think he didn't know what he had and didn't know how to work on them anyways. So I'm not really mad at him. I'm kind of more mad at me for kind of buying it, just going off of, you know, whatever. But when I got there, I looked at it. It looked like it had been used and abused. I mean, it definitely wasn't in mint condition. But I was just thinking in my mind, if it ran last year, then I could probably just take it home, do a couple things like clean the carburetor, do an oil change, put a new fuel filter on it, maybe change the plugs, change the wires, maybe put an ignition coil on, just basic tune-up stuff. And then this thing is probably going to run, and you'll have yourself a good welder. So I got there and I talked to him for a couple minutes, looked it over. It seemed all right. I spun the flywheel so the motor wasn't locked up. So I spun it around. It spun free and everything. And I was like, okay, seems legit. So I asked him to take $300. He said, yeah, he'd take $300. He helped me load it up and everything. And I was on my way. So I get back to the house and I'm out. It's sitting on I still left it on my trailer because I didn't have a garage at the time, so I just left it on a trailer, threw a tarp over it, when I wasn't working on it. And I actually shot like 4 or 5 videos about that, of me buying it and working on stuff like that. There'll be links in the description below if you want to go check those videos out. But anyways, got it home, and I'm trying to think what my thought process was, but I didn't put a battery in and try to start it right away. For whatever reason, I wanted to check out some stuff. So I started by pulling the spark plugs. I pulled the spark plug. I just pulled one of the spark plugs out of if you're standing at the back of the welder, I pulled it out of the left side. And then I started spinning the motor by hand. And when I did, water started coming out the spark plug hole. And I was like, yeah, that ain't right. So I knew there was something screwed up at that point. And then I put that spark plug, I might have left it out, I don't know. I think I put that spark plug back in, went to the other side and pulled that spark plug out and spun the motor, and nothing came out that side. So at that point, I figured that there was water in the motor. Somehow, water had gotten to the motor. So I decided I'd do an oil change. So off the right side of the motor, there's an oil drain tube, I believe. And I took that off and drained a bunch of water and gook out. It wasn't no oil in there. And at that point, I knew the motor was pretty much shot. Maybe not shot, but it was pretty messed up. So the next thing I was going to do after that is I decided I was going to pull the heads and just see what was going on, with the pistons and stuff. My thought was maybe there's a hole in the piston. That's how that water from the oil pan was getting up into the head and stuff. So I pulled the head off the left side of it, and the piston looked decent. I mean, it's aluminum piston, so obviously it's not going to rust. The sidewalls inside the piston itself, or not the piston, the engine, they weren't rusted or anything. They were a little dirty and stuff, but it didn't look nothing, like there was no hole in the piston. So I was like, okay, Not sure how water's getting in there. It's got rings on it and stuff like that, but you know, there was some water in there. So then I went to the left or the right side and pulled that head off, and then that's whenever I realized there was no piston at all on that side. Someone had removed the piston out of the motor without dropping the oil pan. And the only thing I can figure is that the connecting rod between the crank and the piston had broke, and when that broke, a little bit of connecting rod fell into the oil pan, and then they just took the head off, pulled the rest of that piston out, and put the head back on. Now, I don't know if that guy I bought it off of did that, or if the guy that he got it in trade off of did it. I'm assuming that the guy that I bought it off of didn't do that. It didn't look like the bolts had been removed recently, so I'm thinking it's been like that for a while, but he said it ran last summer, but he didn't actually run it, so, you know, whatever. Like I said, I'm not really mad at him. It was $300. Is it a paperweight? Right now it's a paperweight. Am I ever going to get fixed? That motor's sitting on the bench right now, and it's pretty much shot. Like I said, when I took the head off of both heads, I broke 2 of the head bolts. I was able to get those out and get the threads re-ran on the head, so they were fine. But the screwed up part was the exhaust on top. The exhaust comes like this on top of the motor, and one of the bolts broke off, and I could not get that out. So I got to re-drill and re-tap that. And I can't get the crank out, and the crank looks like it needs a new crank. So at this point, I think my best bet, if I'm going to try to get that thing running, is to try to just find a replacement motor, try to find a different motor to put on it. And we'll see what happens from that. I've been looking on like Facebook Marketplace, and you know, what are you going to get when you go on there? You don't have no idea. So I found a few of them for a couple $100. I'm not really ready to drop another couple $100 onto a motor that potentially runs. Probably won't run. So I'm kind of holding off on that right now, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. The motor don't run, obviously. I don't know if the generator part of it runs or the welder part of it runs, so the whole thing might be shot. That's another reason why I'm kind of hesitant on going and spending any more money on this welder at this point. But my best bet would probably be try to get that thing cleaned up as best as possible. A guy sent me a piston, so I got a set of pistons to put back in it, and I've got pretty much everything to bolt it back together. So that'd probably be my cheapest route to go. And then if it works, if the welder works, the generator works, then you'd be justified in spending a couple $100 on getting a better motor for it if you wanted to go that route. But you're dealing with people on Facebook, and when you deal with people on Facebook, you have no idea what you're getting. Everybody's selling everything, trying to get as much money, and more times than not, the person buying ends up getting screwed over anyway. So, you know, you kind of show up and use your best judgment. Hopefully, the guy's not a total sleaze bag. But like I said, I'm not really mad at this guy. I mean, he wasn't like selling it for big money. It's $300, so, or $400, but I got it for $300. So it wasn't like, you know, I was out that much. But at the end of the day, it's kind of disappointing. You go to buy this thing and, you know, ends up not working for you or not working out for you. But that's it. That's pretty much my Miller Trailblazer. It's sitting right here behind me. You can't see it, but it's sitting right behind me. I'd love to be able to get that thing pulled out this summer and actually get working on it and try to see if we can get that thing running, because that thing, from what I'm told, is a really, really good welder. So Miller Trailblazer 250G welder generator. It's not a diesel one, it's a gas one, but still, people still tell me it's a really good welder. So it'd be awesome to be able to stick weld with that this summer. That'd be an awesome video to do. But that's it, folks. Thanks for watching. Go into the comment section. Tell me what you think. There's just links in the descriptions for them videos. There's also some links for some t-shirts and stuff if you want to help support the channel. I think that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.